Okay, so I'm just recapping from talking about the tornado storms that I experienced up north, and I guess I've experienced obviously tornadoes and hurricanes down here before too, as I think about it. But we were talking about the reason for my adventure or how my adventure has been playing out is because um, there was some storms that went on. I had gotten caught up in a storm up north a couple times that led my life somehow to completely turn into a storm, if that makes any sense. And mysteriously enough, as we look at it, but anyways, so yeah, so we pretty much talked about these storms that we're going through and finding ourselves in the middle of awkward, odd storms and surviving through other stuff that had happened in the meantime. So we are obviously as Christians, we we go through stuff and we talk about giving our testimony on what we experience or what we're going through. So that's pretty much what I've been doing throughout the times and stuff of going through these awkward storms. It's just so happened that this particular storm keeps catching me off guard from what I'm used to, and I've gotten just really used to trying to stay like a certain kind of normal when I'm going through this one. But for whatever reason, I'm going through the hard part of it again. And I am trying to keep my head up while I am going through it, waiting for things to get better. Especially since I have created walking or living to the best that I can through this so many times, so I know myself well enough to know how things are supposed to go from how they went. And when you walk with other people and we walk together and you see yourself in so many different ways, obviously. Yeah, so that's what we were talking about. We are talking about somehow finding ourselves mixed up in some really spooky storms. I talked about at one point a storm had came in. I was used to my surroundings, so I did not pay attention to the sirens that went off because I did not hear, if that makes any sense to anyone that understands that, could not hear the sirens at one time. So things happened so quickly, there was no pain. Um, but there was one time that they had went off, and I had no clue that the alarms had went off through some of the tornadoes. The storm that was coming back, or it came back up, and a lot of it is stemming to what's going on up there now. But the fact of the matter is I was actually a person that had fell victim to the society somehow when things changed. So I guess that's how I found myself in the middle of the storm, just never realizing that I was one of the victims that got caught up by this society or this world, when I was just a normal, average, good, obeying everything person that was happened to be living in a place or traveling through a place, visiting a place, whatever the situation was at the time, which I would rather not really like say, because like 98% of the time things were good in that path. So when it turned to this bad that keeps happening from this society, it makes it really hard going through the storm and trying to keep my faith and trying to get through it the best that I can without the berserkness of it that happened this time. And just kind of going back and forth on the knowing and the unknowing, and of things changing and stuff, and just trying to grip the fact that, how how do people expect it to be easy on a person who keeps losing their entire family because of somebody's storm, or a storm, and then you put them in a storm, and then they're like fighting their way to get out of a storm that they didn't belong in to begin with, and they've already fought through these different storms, just different things, just trying to reunite with their own children or their own family, or whatever the situation may be. So yeah, so going through these storms, and then, like I said, being unknowingly about certain things that are going on around you, because obviously in your time or your light, you see things totally different, and then somehow you keep crossing paths with somebody that's on the outside that you're actually fighting and you're not supposed to be around or seeing or something, because you find out that they are a cause for this tunnel that you keep seeing, and they just don't realize it, I guess. I don't know. And so we keep capturing this. Like, I keep capturing this when I get captured into this storm that's going on, until this is figured out, I guess. So I'm just trying to keep my head up and do the best that I can. I never expected forever ago, when things was on the better way of things. I never expected to find my journeys that had started through my own peace, or my own normal life, through life. I never would have thought any of this, I would ever find myself in this. And this particular one, I don't know what this obsession was or is, or what the purpose was. All I know is I have been holding on for a long time, to get through it the best that I can. And I'm kind of baffled. Every which way that I look at certain things for certain timing, it baffles me, because it's like, I don't want to be stuck living on this side of a storm. When you found me, you were on the opposite side of the storm with me, or around me, in a good way, in good life. Why would you want to pull an innocent person through these storms and then keep making them look like, they're whatever? I mean, this is like, I don't know. And I keep seeing this in the storm, and it's like, what is your obsession? Like, you walked away. Why keep pulling me back into your craziness when I belonged on a different side of a mirror, where my life was and will one day return to? Because because you walked away. You walked away because you wanted something else. Don't keep pulling me in your storm and playing your games with me. And that's how we keep seeing it, and every time we keep catching it, and we're like, yeah, so we're going through this battle, this storm, and it's like, there's a lot of things that's happened, or we fall down, and we're just trying to get back, reunited with family, or we're just trying to get back on to our future that is better than the past tense of stuff that we've experienced or we've seen, that had originally was set up for things like this, to keep us safe while we're waiting, or to keep us, okay until whatever, when the storms came in, if it was to happen again, or if it was to happen. So when you find us, like I said earlier, a group of people that keep screwing your light up, or screwing your path, or even your own family, like certain things up, and you catch it and you keep seeing it, and things were made for safety reasons, for us particular people, for a reason, and somebody keeps walking in and messing that up, and we keep catching it, or mistakes keep being made and we keep catching it. Or, like I said, we would be like, when that storm, when the alarm went off up there, I was literally living in a different place than where I am now. Even like when I was down here and this happened down here, I was completely different. We were living completely different when we had the hurricane storms that come in. We don't have the alarms like we do up there. Like, we did not have, I don't remember, but maybe one time having a certain kind of alarm here that we had heard over a storm. We were literally in a different state when it happened. Totally everything around us, from body, mind, spirit, soul, everything was so different then. And when the alarm went off for certain people, how in a split second we found ourselves from there to another point that just somehow kept changing until we get to another point in life, and then we're sitting here going, well, I'm not scared to even speak about what I've seen or what I know. It's like I know where I've been, I know what I went through, I know, and we see these things, and you start thinking about it and you're like, no, life was really totally different. And then it was so weird how you go to a certain point and you have no recollection and you feel like this loss, like just odd, like uh sense, like just it's so weird. Like it's just the weirdest thing of knowing one minute yourself going through this oddness and you look at it backwards, like how strange, how very strange, like it's very strange. So then you're going through that and you're like suffering, all going through these things, and you're watching what's going on, and you're like, I don't understand why it was happening in the first place. So trying to like just sit back and put the pieces together in your mind and in your own, how you're living in it, and you're just like, so yeah. So as we look at that, before these storms or before these things started, on where we was and who we were with and how things was around us, um, just so many different things that you see from then and now, and then this thing that you're like dealing with now, and you're just like, I guess you're baffled, and you're like, I don't know. It can be confusing because it just throws you off guard, like no big deal, like just, well, it is a big deal, like so off guard. So this time, when it had happened up there, I was kind of familiar with certain signs already in the back of my mind, that I had recollection. I had re-entered certain recollections, but I still really didn't have a clue. I was so used to how I ended up getting to the point where I was, where I really didn't. I kind of knew certain things in the back of my mind, but in the other back of my mind, I didn't. So I was just going on with life. I was comfortable. I was comfortable with my life. I had nothing to worry about, or I thought I had nothing to worry about. But my demeanor obviously is what I was used to, and there's nothing I could do about that. And I had family that I knew well because I had been with them through these storms for a long time. Through the whole thing, I've been with them. So to me, it was like nothing seemed out of the ordinary. So then that's where some people, I guess, thought that, I don't know what they thought, but until other things like came back around to a different like cycle, like went completely backwards from one thing to another, and I just kind of took it and took it and took it and took it, and it circles back around to something completely the opposite from another. I don't know. So when we started seeing these storms, or I start seeing these different things, and I'm just sitting back waiting for those better days, to start and this to end, where I don't have to keep cycling in the same thing, giving my opinion, or battling through certain things not to happen, and knowing that they did not have to happen. And then I was puzzled, trying to put this puzzle together, and who did what, and who's doing it, and who's doing this, and da 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 da. Going through this stuff of whatever, the testimony, the witnesses, the whatever it is that we're going through when we get pulled into these storms. I just happened to be thrown off guard this time because I was literally living in the middle of life that I knew, and I was trying to again rebuild my comfort zone, and that's how it was until things started getting strange, and I started feeling uncomfortable, and I started seeing things totally different than what I had knew from the begin with. Like, to me, I was just seeing it, and like I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going through a dark, but we did great in the light. Everything was perfect in the light. We have no issues, we have no problems, da 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 da. There won't be any problem. So when things changed, I started seeing things that started making me feel uncomfortable, and I started seeing things that was going to make me freak out or whatever. And I'm thinking, and I kept thinking, this is not what it was like in the light. Like, this was not what it was like in the good. What the fuck is happening? Obviously, I freak out. Things would happen, and I've went through a lot of stuff from the time of falling when the storm came until back to that point where, I mean, obviously some stuff I didn't have recollection of, but I started seeing like certain things, and then my storm just got worse, and then it got worse again, and then I went backwards through what had happened to me in a place up there after this particular, maybe it was like the second round of getting separated from the situation and not knowing, don't know I don't know who's at fault for what, and I don't know why it happened to me. I still will probably never know, but that's what I'm still waiting on why, and why certain people did what they did to an innocent person, that when somebody else was the one that was at fault for stuff, and not that person. And regardless if that person was at fault, still the things that had happened should have never happened to a person whatsoever. I don't get that. And then realizing that I just so happen to be that very person that has went through this weirdness, and still not understanding how I got to it, why I was the one that went through this, and being someone who has seen this very same structured life be untainted, unharmed, and all these things that happen, literally walk through it in the same place, same area, same around people, everything. So I knew what was supposed to go on and who was supposed to be around and who wasn't supposed to be around. And when I started seeing this change, and then what had happened just out of the blue, it's disturbing, and it makes you start questioning certain people who are around, and then question even more, especially with what's going on, because those people are either have something to do with this particular society. I mean, I know we're going through this thing with the cops and all this other stuff, which I really don't care anymore, coming from somebody who obviously has family, that whatever. And then I go through these certain things, and I'm devastated that I lost my life to a group of people that did what they did to me at a point in time up there, after the fact that I had went through something completely different from the storm or from the change up there, and I lost my life. And then you treated me like I was a criminal, but then you treated me with this mindset of some other kind of belief, which I can't believe where it comes from. I'm not going to believe where that comes from, and do what you did to me in that time period, and then expect me. You think that that's going to shut me up on something. I don't know what you think it's going to shut me up on, because I was just an innocent person that lived in a world that changed around me. And I fell, and I've been going through this stuff because of it. And then you did these things, and you thought it was quiet, but it really wasn't. And then I have to remember it, So, and then I go through these walks with people of wanting me to testify, and I couldn't ever figure out what it was they wanted me to testify to until now. And I went through a lot of good parts of my life where I had no recollection of these. My life was back to a normal until this path. So I'm still living here praying for this storm to end, but then praying for my peace, and praying for justice to come out with, just for my part. Everybody is free. We're supposed to all have justice when somebody has hurt us or done different things to us. You get killed, your family gets killed, your children get whatever the situation is that we just kind of find ourselves caught in. I mean, you be sleeping in your home, and these storms come through, things change, you wake up or whatever happens, you don't even know you was somebody totally opposite than how you started with to begin with. And that's the issue here, is life would be totally different before this happens. And then you start seeing this change in the person, your partner, or in your husband or your children or whatever, and everything just starts changing around you, and you start picking up on it, and you're like, do they think that you're not gonna like see this, and knowing that you couldn't recognize it? I mean, there's so many things to it. It's just like, you cause these issues, and you're gonna still think that somebody who can tell these things and who can tell certain things are not right is just gonna sit back and act like it's no big deal. No, it just doesn't work that way. You know, it makes no sense. I don't care how much you tortured me. Once you realize that I have this gift, this discernment of knowing, I don't know. Like, I don't know how long you think you're gonna keep torturing me. You know, I really don't. So yeah, so that's a part of this has been a part of this adventure that has come around again for whatever reason, and it's a fact of the matter because of the situation, like I just said, not knowing something or another. Well, I'm sorry, but I didn't ask you to come destroy my family, or I didn't ask you to just like show up into our image into life, and if you didn't like it, or you know, whatever, you should have never fucking showed up into it to begin with, because that's just the way we are. You know, if you didn't like it, oh well, take your ass back where you belong. Don't be coming up in my family and then trying to destroy my life, you know, and just think because whatever that you could do it and then nobody was gonna, you know, realize it. Wrong. So anyways, so yeah, so that's how we finished this week of our storm adventures that we're going through with Abigail on Abigail's adventure. And like I said, I'm praying for the better times to show back up and things to get back to a better whatever. But until this storm is over, the storm system that's going around that some people were unaware of, like we talked about, we're just kind of hanging out, and we're just looking around, and we're just waiting. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. We are awaiting again. So until things is taken care of, and we know we've been on a docket for a long time, and we're just trying to get back to them. And it's funny, when we take care of certain ones, somehow we disappear in the storm again, and then what belongs to us is not there, and then they think that we're with it and we're not, and we're catching on to it. So we're still waiting here in hell of Abigail's adventure. So I'll see you guys later. Bye!